Welcome to Charter Oak Fiberworks. This is a knitty podcast about knitting and crocheting, spinning, kind of all things fiber that I do, that I try as I'm kind of recording my journey as I learn things and make things. I am an American who lives in Denmark currently. My name is Claire, and I live here with my partner and my 2 children, and they end up having to come along for a lot of my yarny adventures. All right, let's hop right into some of the things that I finished in the last couple weeks and some of the projects that I am working on and what I plan to kind of keep doing. Okay, first up, I finished my hat. The hat that my daughter is making for her teacher. So it is just a folded brim. I like a nice thick folded brim, so it's I don't know, maybe 2.5 inches long. I put a little pearl where I'm gonna fold it, and then I fold it over so I get that nice flat fold on the hat. And just made a little hat. Now I made it on size 6 needles, 100 stitches. It's not a pattern or anything, it's just what I made, 100 stitches. And I did that, I'm holding a fingering weight with a silk mohair to kind of give it that lovely fuzziness, that halo on it. I needed it. My daughter was making it. I end up knitting a lot on it for her to keep her on track and keep her focused, but I needed it to be like a DK weight so that she could get it, not lose focus or patience with the project. So this is her hat that she made. The green-brown yarn that you can see in the bottom is by Bea Garn. It is a 65% merino, 20% silk, 15% yak. It's a lovely, luscious, soft one. It actually has really good color, but it's a little bit more brown, and my daughter wanted to make a green hat for her. So to make it a little bit more green, I teamed it up with Isair silk mohair. It is a 75% kid mohair, 25% silk to give it that nice fuzziness. So when I make my hats like this, I will usually just find a gauge and then kind of how big a hat is. So for a size 6 needle DK, I did 100 stitches. I knit about 2 inches, put in a purl row, knit another 2 inches, then I go back and actually pick up. I don't do a provisional cast on. I just went back and picked up all the stitches at the beginning, folded up, knit the 2 stitches together of both sides, and then I went up a few more inches and did knit 8 stitches, knit 2 together for a row, then knit all the way around, knit 7 inches, knit 2 together, and I do that alternating so I get that nice swirl at the top until I get down to the last few stitches. If I need to do one more, knit 2 together all the way around to kind of make it a little smaller, then I pull all the stitches tight and tie it off and weave in my end. So that gives me a nice, just a basic hat. This one's a kind of a tight small one, a beanie, instead of like a slouchy one that I like to wear, more of a slouchy one. But I made like just a nice tight beanie. So there's my first project that I have finished. My second project is the Hocus Pocus cowl. It is by Thea Eschliman. I showed you the yarn for it last time. I can't pronounce the name, I'm sorry. It is a Halloween themed colorwork cowl. It has turned out just gorgeous. This yarn just gives it has such good contrast in it. It is knit on 2.5 millimeter needles. I think that's a 2-ish. I think a 2.25 is a 2. Maybe. I'm still working on that. So, but they don't have the quarter needles here. So they're only on the half, and the US ones are on the quarter ones, I think. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, lovely colorwork pattern. There weren't any really long floats that I was worried about in this one. The yarn is, let me see if I can find it. The orange is Madeline Tosh Merino Light. It is a superwash merino. It's a single in the colorway Citrus. And the black is Satin is Gone, their Sunday base. And that is a non-superwash merino, and the colorway is 1099. Let me see, should I show you my floats? Hey, those look pretty good. You can see the reverse pattern in my floats. And this I have as a gift for my sister. I'm going to send to her, but I'll try it on. Oh, I'm tied. So, just a nice, tight cowl to wear. Black cats at the bottom, owls and vines in the middle, and jack-o'-lanterns at the top. The pattern calls for a folded over edging with pom-poms on the end of it. And it was cute, but I didn't really, so it would fold over like this and there'd be little pom-poms at the end of the, I thought that was cute, but I was wondering if it would bother me to have them kind of hanging off that, because this is such a tight cowl, if it would bother me. So I opted to not put them in, and I just put a twisted 1x1 ribbing at the top and bottom. And yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out. It, small needles, so it took me a while, but also didn't, because color work tends to go just really fast that you want to, you know, it's very easy to set goals. So I can say at the end of the night, I want to be done with the cats, and the next time I sat down, I want to be done with the owls or whatever. I could just keep myself motivated to keep going. Oh, there we go. The Hocus Pocus cowl. That is all I finished from the last time I podcasted. We took a trip out to the States to visit family, so we were gone for about 2 weeks. I knit on this cowl on the airplane, and so that was kind of what I've been working on, but that's all I've really worked on, because I've just been, because we were traveling, and so we were just busy, and every time we were with people, it was a lot of talking, even while we were driving and things like that. So I didn't spend a lot of time knitting on that until we got home. All right, now for my works in progress. Let's see. Oh, I have another Halloween cowl. This one is for me, so it's going to stay with me. It is, I'm going to show you the picture of it. It is the Haunted Mansion cowl by Tanis Gray. I think it is very stunning. I do love Disney stuff. I love Disney Halloween stuff. So I saw this and I was super excited by the motif that she has going on. She's included kind of the Haunted Mansions, the buildings of it, a fence, one that looks like the singing busts from the ride from the movie, both. Then the crystal ball, foolish mortals, and just kind of a graveyard motif. But I loved the colors that she did it in the sample. And so I chose very similar colors because I wear a lot of black or neutrals. And so I thought it would be really fun to just have this Halloween pop of color. So I've just made it through the mansions and the little bats up at the top, and it hasn't been blacked yet. So it's kind of doing its own thing. But my colors are the green is Hedgehog Merino DK. It's a DK, all of it's DK weight. And the colorway is UFO. And it's just this like bright greenish yellow, really intense, really standing out against the purple, which is Madeline Tosh DK Ultramarine Violet. And I think they look just stunning together. They're coming out even better than I expected when I picked them out. So I love it. Yeah, I don't know how it'll look against me. Luckily it goes up and the purple is what ends it. So I think the purple will look better against my skin than the green, but I actually don't think that's as bad as I thought it would be. But I'm super excited. I'm working through this. I'm excited to have it ready by October. And then I can wear it all Halloween season everywhere I go and just have that nice pop of color. I'm knitting it on US size 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter. It calls for 4 for the bottom, and she does a garter stitch, and I did a 1x1 twisted rib. I really like how that looks. It looks nice and clean to me, and I like the pop, so I did that instead. And then it says to switch to a 6 for the actual color work part, and I know that's because most people's color work gets a little bit tighter, and my color work is looser because I am stressed about not giving enough the floats enough space. So I really do my floats really loosely, and it just makes my gauge bigger. So I've stayed on the 4s to do this, and then I'll finish it up the other panels and have a lovely, fun, not lovely, I mean, it will be fun to wear cowl. So it's my lots of Halloween knitting right now because it's the season for that. Okay. Next up, I have the Effie mitts by Skeindeer. I don't have a color work yarn. I'm making them on US 3s or a 3.25 millimeter needle. I have the yarn is from a local yarn dyer that's called Tubo hand dyed, and the white is just a natural color, and the purpley maroon is Bordeaux, and the yarn is it's non-superwash, and it's just a little sticky, and so I think it's really making my color work just kind of stand out. It pops. It looks gorgeous. This is a Latvian braid, my first one, and I think they turned out wonderfully. I have a part that I screwed up on both my first one and my second one, but I think it's looking really well, really good. I've already separated for the thumb here, so I feel like I'm really cranking on them, that they're coming along very nice, and I think they're going to feel, let's see, can I get it? I think they're going to feel lovely. I do have if anyone has any tips I don't know why when I make my colorwork mittens, and this is a problem that I have on my last ones too that I made, is where I change needles in my 4 needles. And even when I was doing it, I tried it magic loop. I still have the same issue, but this drawing right here, I cannot get my tension right. Maybe it'll block out and I'm worrying for nothing. I can't get my tension right when I switch needles to make it so this end is not weird. And maybe there's something to that's okay because they'll like lay flat. I don't know, but that's just, it makes me nervous to knit the mittens because I get that weird bump, weird tension right in there where I try to be loose, but then they're too loose, and then I try to be tighter and I get this little like ripple on it. Everywhere else is great. In fact, even when I, like on the circulars here, see that's the same side. When I'm not doing that line that goes up both sides of the mitten, I don't have that issue. So if you have any tips for how to make me feel better about that, and how to do it, let me know, or just reassure me that it'll block out and it'll be fine. That's really actually what I want to hear at this point because I'm this far along. So, but I'll do the other mitten. If someone has a good way to do that, then I'll fix it. But yes, the Effie Mittens by Skeindeer Knits. All right, my last whip is just barely started. These are just a vanilla sock of my own pattern, I guess. I don't know. I've made so many socks over the years that I just kind of make socks. So, very boring start here. I'm trying something different. I have some stuff to experiment with my socks to make them better. I like experimenting with socks. I found something that works for my partner's socks, but I want to be even better. I want to try different things. So I'm going to do a folded over cuff on these. So I'm just right now stockinette stitch this nice long piece. I'm going to probably double it from where it is now, fold it over, pick up the stitches, knit them together, and then start on the actual sock. But I wanted to give kind of I want to see how that would feel. Not always, but I usually do a 1x1 through the back loop ribbing. But I kind of wanted to try something different. I saw, I don't know where. I feel like it was on another podcast or maybe on Instagram, someone who was doing that. And I thought that, I think it was the Grocery Girls. I think they did their sock machine and then they did a folded over one on their sock machine. And I was like, I wonder what that would look like. So I have a black, I don't know what the yarn is because it's just, I pulled it out of my stash. I have like a shoe hanger, and I just sort kind of my fingering weight yarns that are partial skeins or even full skeins, but only like a 50-gram one in there to keep things organized by color. So I just went into my grays and whites and blacks, and I pulled out that black to go with this gray. It's the Felici fingering weight drama club, and it's from a few years ago. I had a friend gift it to me, which was very, very sweet. So she sent it over here to me because it's one of my favorites. So I'll switch from this to here, keep going, and see how it feels. And if I should invest the time to make my partner a pair of socks in that way. His feet are just a little bit bigger than mine, so I experiment on my socks, and then I'll make him a pair too. But He actually wears his socks out in the wild, which I love. I wear mine mostly just inside, even though I love to make them. I have a hard time with the feeling of knit socks on my feet when I'm out in like my sneakers and a full day of walking or things like that. So I tend to not wear mine out. They're kind of my inside socks, or when I'm being cute for a yarn thing, I'll put them on. So those are my, just a vanilla sock, because I didn't have anything I was working on that was boring and plain. Like I have 2 color work things on my needles at the moment, and those are really hard to do when you're watching movies. So I had cast them on while we were watching Secret of Sulphur Springs with my daughter. She really likes that show, but it's a little bit scary, and so we all watch it as a family together at night. And I kept knitting on them through Thor: Love and Thunder, which I loved. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. I know that's not as much the popular opinion, but I thought it was fun and sweet. Okay, I'm gonna pull out, I have a northeasterly blanket that is on the needles, has been for a few years. I've just recently picked it up because I've thrown some new yarn into my basket of ends to kind of go in there, my scraps. So I'll just show you. I am 3 stripes. I've got the length that I want it. And now I'm just working away on it when I have a moment. It's not as good for movie knitting as I had hoped when I started it, because it takes just a little bit of checking where I'm at and what I'm doing to be able to knit on it. So it's kind of in between movie easy knitting and not. So the colors that I added to my basket, I take my Felice yarn after I'm done with my socks, and I know I'm not going to use the rest of it. I actually take it and split it up by color of what's left, and I just do a knot that pulls tight together, and like a no-show knot, I don't know what it's called, and knot my ends together so that they're in the color, because I generally like the colors, but I don't want to stripe it like that into my blanket, and so I just cut them up and tie them together until I've got enough that I can add a block into my blanket. And that's how I add those. That's what, let's see if I can find. This down here is from a Felice sock yarn that I cut up. This one is, so that's how I add my sock yarn, striping sock yarn to my blanket without having it be obviously striped in the same way. And that's all I've been working on, and all I finished in the last couple weeks. I was able to go to our little local museum. It's not little, it's a national museum for where we live. And they had an exhibit that was the royalty of Denmark, all crocheted into little dolls. So I picked up this little book about them. And then a section that was, people could have just crocheted the queen, the current queen, and then they displayed them all up. And if I knew more about crocheting, I probably would have given it a try, but with my schedule and with everything, I just didn't quite get to making a queen. So I went over and I checked out the exhibit. So they have like, this is Gorm the Old is his name. He's the first king of Denmark, and then up through the current queen. And this book, I got the book because it has little, has each of the people each of the kings or queens on it, and then a little bit about them, because I don't know the Danish royal line. So it was nice to learn, and then it has a little bit about the one who made them, and then some about the queens that were made. Oh, excuse me. The queens that were made and why they're made that way. Or let me see. I think there's one that shows a queen. It doesn't show the original pictures of her, but I think when she went to Greenland, and so she was wearing some of the kind of more traditional color work and stuff like that. So it was such a fun exhibit. I'll post a video of it here so that you can see it, kind of come along with it. But I thought it was such a little quirky, fun thing that's just going on in my town. Queen Margareta II is, she just had her 50 years of being the reigning queen. And so that was the celebration for her. And this is what my local town did to celebrate that. So that's all I have for you today. It was good to be, it's good to be back. It's good to be on here. It's good to keep myself motivated and working on all my projects and making sure I finish them and get them ready to, finishing knitting them is not the problem. It's that like blocking and finishing them, because I'll wear them without being blocked. I'll just throw them on. It's not a big deal to me, but when you have that, when they're just nice and crisp right off the blocking mat, and you're like, oh, why don't I do that all the time? So being on here helps me take those last steps, and it helps keep me on track to see what I've been doing, and it helps me keep a record of things. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening to me, and I will see you in a couple of weeks.